The helicopter dipped low, blades whipping the jungle canopy into a frenzy. Below, a river snaked through emerald green, reflecting the harsh sunlight. Inside, 4 figures braced themselves, their faces grim under the camouflage paint. Maya, the seasoned archaeologist, gripped the map. Beside her, Liam, the survival expert, adjusted his backpack, his eyes scanning for a break in the dense foliage. Across from them, Ava, the tech specialist, checked her equipment, her face illuminated by the screen. And lastly, Jax, their financier and thrill-seeker, grinned, his excitement palpable. This was it, the moment they'd been waiting for. The helicopter touched down in a small clearing. Immediately the air grew heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. Insects buzzed incessantly, a symphony of the wild. Maya jumped out, her boots sinking into the soft ground. She unfurled the ancient map, its edges frayed, the ink faded.
This is it, the Lost Temple of Angkor Wat.
Liam led the way, his machete slicing through the undergrowth. Vines, thick as pythons, hung from towering trees, their leaves casting eerie shadows. They moved single file, their footsteps muffled by the carpet of dead leaves. The air grew cooler, damper, as they descended deeper into the heart of the jungle. The dense canopy above blocked out most of the sunlight, creating an almost twilight atmosphere. Maya swore she could hear the whisper of ancient voices, the echo of forgotten rituals. The jungle seemed alive, as if it were watching them. After what felt like hours, their journey was relentless. The jungle opened into a wide clearing. The sudden openness was almost disorienting. In the center, half hidden by vines and creepers, stood a towering structure of moss-covered stone, the temple. It was an awe-inspiring sight, more magnificent than they could have ever imagined. The sheer size and grandeur of it took their breath away. Intricate carvings adorned its walls, depicting scenes of a long-lost civilization. A sense of awe mixed with trepidation washed over them. They knew they were standing on the threshold of history. This wasn't just an archaeological find, it was a doorway to a forgotten world. A world that had been hidden for centuries.
Let's see what we're dealing with. We need to document everything carefully.
Ava pulled out her camera drone, its tiny propellers whirring to life. The drone ascended, disappearing into the gaps in the crumbling stonework. The drone's camera provided a bird's-eye view. On the monitor, they saw it. A labyrinth of corridors, chambers, and courtyards, all leading to a central chamber. The complexity of the layout was astounding. And in the center of that chamber, a shimmering golden idol, their prize. It was more than just a relic, their ticket to fame and fortune. It was a symbol of their success, a testament to their perseverance. The entrance to the temple was a gaping maw of darkness, an abyss that seemed to swallow all light and hope. The air was thick with the smell of mildew and decay, a testament to the centuries it had stood undisturbed. Liam went first, his headlamp cutting through the gloom like a knife. Ava followed closely behind, her own light illuminating the intricate carvings on the walls, revealing stories long forgotten. Maya, her heart pounding with anticipation and a hint of fear, brought up the rear, her hand brushing against the cool, damp stone, feeling the history embedded in its surface. The air grew heavy, oppressive, as if the temple itself was aware of their presence. Each step was a gamble, a careful calculation, the ground littered with broken pottery and crumbled masonry, remnants of a bygone era.
Booby traps, hidden dangers at every turn.
Liam pointed to a pressure plate, barely visible beneath a layer of dust, a silent sentinel waiting to spring its trap. They edged past it cautiously, every muscle tense, their breaths echoing in the silence, a reminder of their vulnerability. The corridor opened into a large chamber, vast and echoing, the ceiling lost in the darkness above, a void that seemed to stretch into infinity. In the center, a giant stone wheel rested on a pedestal, imposing and mysterious. Carved into its surface were strange symbols, intricate and enigmatic, their meaning lost to time, yet hinting at secrets waiting to be uncovered.
A puzzle, a challenge. Ava, see if you can find anything in your database about these symbols. We need to understand what we're dealing with.
While Ava worked, her fingers flying over the keys, Liam and Jax examined the mechanism of the wheel, their eyes scanning every detail, their hands tracing the grooves and notches, feeling the craftsmanship of ancient hands. This was no ordinary temple, it was a marvel of engineering and ingenuity. It was a test of wit, a challenge to their intellect and courage, a deadly game designed to protect its secrets, a gauntlet that only the worthy could hope to survive. Hours melted into a blur of puzzles and traps, each one more challenging than the last, testing their wits and endurance. They navigated treacherous pitfalls, disarmed hidden darts, and deciphered ancient riddles, their minds racing against time and the unknown dangers lurking in the shadows. Each challenge they overcame brought them closer to their goal, the golden idol shimmering in their mind's eye, a beacon of hope and fortune that drove them forward despite the growing fatigue. Yet a sense of unease settled upon them. They were not alone. The air grew thick with tension, and every shadow seemed to hide a lurking threat. From the depths of the temple they heard it, the distinct crunch of boots on stone, echoing through the corridors, a sound that sent chills down their spines.
Someone's here. We need to be careful.
His words hung in the air, heavy with foreboding. The realization that they were not alone added a new layer of danger to their quest. They had company, and judging by the sound of their progress, they were just as determined, just as driven by greed and ambition, willing to do whatever it took to claim the treasure for themselves. They pressed themselves against the wall, concealing themselves in the shadows as a group of figures emerged from a side passage, their movements stealthy and calculated. They were heavily armed, their faces hidden behind masks, their intentions clear and menacing. Treasure hunters, rivals, competitors who would stop at nothing to seize the prize. Their leader, a tall, imposing man with a cruel scar across his cheek, paused, his head cocked, as if listening to the silence, his presence exuding authority and danger. He glanced in their direction, his eyes narrowed, suspicion etched on his face as he scanned the darkness for any sign of movement. Maya held her breath, her heart pounding against her ribs. They'd been spotted. The tension was palpable, and the next move could mean the difference between life and death. Section 5. A tense standoff. Well, what do we have here? The scarred man grinned, his voice dripping with malice. Looks like we're not the only ones after the prize. His men fanned out, flanking them, their weapons glinting in the dim light. Liam stepped forward, his hand resting on his machete hilt. We're not looking for trouble, he growled, his voice low and dangerous. Just a way out. The lie hung heavy in the air. There was no way out, not without a fight. The scarred man laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. You think you can just waltz in here, take what you want, and walk out? He shook his head. This temple doesn't give up its secrets so easily, and neither do we. He gestured with his chin toward the corridor they had just emerged from. The idol is this way. Come and get it if you dare. Section 6. Walls crumble. A tense silence stretched between them, broken only by the sound of dripping water and the distant rumble of shifting earth. The ground trembled beneath their feet. Dust rained down from the ceiling, cobwebs swaying like pendulums. Maya's eyes widened. The temple, she whispered, her voice tight with fear. It's collapsing. Panic flickered in the eyes of the rival group. Their leader, however, remained calm, his gaze fixed on Liam. This changes nothing, he growled. The idol is ours. He lunged, his machete whistling through the air. Liam parried the blow, their blades clashing in a shower of sparks. The chamber was plunged into chaos. Shouts and screams echoed as the walls groaned and buckled. Stone blocks tumbled from the ceiling, crashing to the ground. The air filled with choking dust. Maya coughed, waving her hand in front of her face to clear the air. She could barely see, could barely breathe. They had to get out, now! This way, Liam yelled, grabbing Maya's hand and pulling her toward a side passage. Ava and Jax followed close behind, their headlamps bobbing in the dust-filled air. The ground shook violently beneath their feet, threatening to swallow them whole. They scrambled over fallen debris, their lungs burning, their hearts pounding in their chests. The passage narrowed, forcing them to crawl on their hands and knees. The air grew thick and hot, heavy with the smell of sulfur. The rumble of collapsing stone grew louder, closer. Maya risked a glance behind her. The rival group was right on their heels, their leader urging them forward with a stream of curses. They were trapped, caught between the collapsing temple and their ruthless pursuers. There was no escape, or was there? Ava, her face illuminated by the glow of her tablet, pointed to a faint glow ahead. There, she gasped. An opening! Hope surged through Maya. They surged forward, their bodies screaming in protest, their lungs desperate for air. The opening led to a narrow crevice in the rock face. Liam squeezed through first, then reached back to help the others. One by one, they tumbled out onto a ledge, gasping for air, their bodies battered and bruised. They had made it. Below them, the jungle spread out like a verdant carpet. The air was fresh, clean, sweet with the scent of rain, and then they heard it. A deafening roar as the temple, weakened by centuries of neglect and shaken by their intrusion, finally gave way. Tons of rock and earth thundered down, burying the secrets of Angkor Wat once more. They sat there for a long time, on the edge of oblivion, watching plumes of dust rise into the air like ghostly apparitions. The sunlight, filtering through the canopy, seemed almost blinding after the oppressive darkness of the temple. They had escaped with their lives, but not unscathed. Maya examined her reflection in a shard of broken pottery. Her face was streaked with dirt, her eyes bloodshot, her clothes torn. But beneath the grime and exhaustion, she could see it, the thrill of survival, the exhilaration of discovery. They had faced their fears and emerged victorious, if a little worse for wear. Liam tossed a canteen to Maya, his eyes scanning their surroundings. We need to move, he said, his voice rough. It won't be long before someone else picks up our trail. He was right. The jungle was a dangerous place, full of hidden perils and unseen enemies. But for now, they were safe. For now, they could savor their victory. As they made their way through the jungle, following the course of the river, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that they had only scratched the surface of Angkor Wat's secrets. What other mysteries lay buried beneath the rubble? What other treasures awaited those brave enough to seek them out? She glanced at her companions. Liam, his gaze fixed on the horizon, his hand never straying far from his machete. Ava, her fingers dancing across her tablet, downloading data, piecing together the puzzle of the past. And Jax, his eyes gleaming with excitement, already planning their next adventure. They were a team, bound together by danger and discovery. They had faced death and emerged stronger, their bonds forged in the crucible of the Forgotten Temple. The jungle had tested them, and they had prevailed. And as they emerged from the emerald embrace of the rainforest, Maya knew that their journey was far from over. The horizon beckoned, promising new adventures, new challenges, new mysteries to unravel.